Good morning. Good morning and welcome to Unity of Greater Hartford. And we are sending the call out to everyone. Say, hey, come on in. We're going to be starting the service up shortly. So we're here. We're welcoming people in. Hello, Lee. Yay. Good morning to all of you. We're here at Unity of Greater Hartford. And hi, Angela. Hey, Angela. I'm going to make you the ambassador today, okay? You've been voluntold. Good morning, Mariana. Good morning, Jim. And welcome. And my name is Reverend Christine Boylan, as you probably know, and we're calling everyone in. Hafna, hello, Afnai, and Miriam, good morning. So while you're here early, good for you. Suzette, yay. Glad you're all here early. Go up, get the bulletin on the website, unityhartford.org. While you're there, hit that donate button, and then come back. And by then, hopefully, many more people will have come in, like Liston and Kathy. And while we wait for all of them, hi Jude and Joanne. While we wait for everybody, let's hear a little bit of music from Carolyn. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you. And welcome again, everyone. Welcome to Unity of Greater Hartford. We're here in our beautiful sanctuary. My name is Reverend Christine Boylan, and with me today, as you just heard, is our wonderful music director, Carolyn Fisher. Yay! Also, our prayer chaplain ministry leader, Deborah Giddings, Yippee. Our office manager, Tony Bensko, and today our sound master, Jim Mahoney.
Yeah.
Yes. Again, I want to remind you that you can obtain today's bulletin from our website, unityhartford.org. And of course, while you're up there, you can also hit that donate button. But let's remember what unity is. And so we're going to affirm this. And I ask you to affirm it with me. Unity is a positive path for spiritual living. And here at Unity, we welcome, value, and include all people. So welcome to all of you this morning. Anytime during today's service, let us know you're here. Put a comment in. Also, please talk to each other and send up those emojis. I often can't read what you're writing while I'm in the service, but I can see those emojis and I love seeing them, so send the emojis up too. So let's take a moment now to get grounded, to get centered in prayer. So just take a deep breath in and release. And perhaps as you do that, close your eyes, just to become centered, become aware. Become aware that you truly are one with the divine. Today, as we wrap up February, we take a moment to revel in our spiritual power, our spiritual light of strength. That spiritual light of strength that is the energy of God. And we are aware and conscious of calling forth that energy of God, that spiritual light, spiritual power of strength. We call it forth. We claim it. We consciously use it to do what is ever ours to do. So today, with full awareness and full consciousness, with excitement, we call forth, we utilize our spiritual power of strength, and all things become possible. And so it is. Amen.
Amen.
So now, if you are, this is your first time with us, or you're relatively new to Unity, or perhaps just new to this Unity Church, we would love to send you a welcome package. We could mail it to you. So if you would like to receive that, write this down. Send us an email with your name and your address to unityhartford.org. Now, if you forget that, or I went too quickly, just put in the comments, I'd like to receive the welcome package. And our church ambassador, who is Angela this morning, she will write back to you. She'll answer you, and she'll give you that email address again. So we thank you for joining us, for honoring us with your presence this morning. Now, last week we had our annual meeting after the Sunday service. We reviewed the past year, we looked at our financials, and we talked about what's coming up in the coming year. We also elected 2 new board members, Christine Kiley and Sue Smallage. So the board will be meeting, yes, exactly, let's applaud, yes. Two very courageous souls step forward, and we are so grateful. Now, when the board meets in March, the board as a whole, this new board, will elect the new officers. So as soon as they do that, the following Sunday, I'll let you know who our new officers are. And I also want to just take a moment to thank the board member whose term is up and who's left. Now, one of them was Terry Kazakis, who had to leave the board earlier because of family issues and challenges, and we certainly have thanked her. But the board member who recently just left, so that these 2 new board members could come on, well, he was also our board president, and he came on the board when I came on the board. So I will definitely miss him on the board, as I'm sure all of you were. So I'd like you just to, wherever you are, just applaud Scott Harrison for being a wonderful and generous and just terrific board president at a time when it was very hard to be the board president. This current board that he served on has never met in person. And that's not the easiest type of board to be president of. And yet, everything was wonderful, and it was the most harmonious board we've ever had. So, and I'm sure that's in large part due to Scott. Now, today, after today's service, right after the Sunday service, but on Zoom, not on Facebook, on Zoom, at 11:30 a.m., we will have our coffee and tea connection. So bring your favorite beverage and join 2 of our board members, Lee Dittman and Sandra Dickerson, and get connected. The Zoom link and password is right up on the homepage of our website, right after the information about today's Sunday service. So I think that's it. That's all I have. So, Carolyn, what are we going to be singing today?
Well, we are starting off this morning with a bang. We're going to sing together, "This Little Light of Mine." So I know you know the tune, even all these stacked words. They come. Let's sing together.
I like that.
little light is shining. God morning, Unity family. I'm Deborah Giddings. I am so honored and grateful to be here with all of you today. And I'm going to invite you to affirm with me our statement of faith. I'm going to say a phrase and then ask you to repeat it with Carolyn and Reverend Christine. There is only one presence and one power.
There is only one presence and one power.
Active as the universe and as my life.
Active as the universe and as my life.
God the good, omnipotence, amen.
God the good, omnipotent, amen.
And now for today's daily word. And the word today is connection. I honor my connection with all people. No matter how great the distance that exists between me and people I care about, I know we are connected by our love for one another. Today, I reestablish and strengthen this connection by reaching out, even if it's only to let someone know I'm thinking of them. Our connection is also kept strong through prayer. As I pray for those I care about, I bless them by holding my highest vision for their lives, seeing them as healthy, prosperous, happy, and fulfilled. When we're in frequent contact or have fallen out of touch, my connection with my loved ones remains strong because we are one in God, one in love. And from 1 Corinthians 12, verse 13, for in the one Spirit we were all baptized into one body, Jews or Greeks, slaves or free, and we were all made to drink of one Spirit. So let's just take a moment and bring into our hearts the affirmation for today. I honor my connection with all people. I honor my connection with all people, and so it is. Namaste.
Thank you, Deborah. Well, today we come to the last day of February, a month devoted to the awareness of Black history, a month that has a whole day, yep, one whole day, devoted to love, and a month when we focused on welcoming the unwelcomed. It's been a mighty full month. For a short one. Welcoming the unwelcomed. Our aim was to fully awaken our heart and mind so we and others can together create a better world for everyone. It was also about a commitment to do all it takes to free ourselves from habits that cause us confusion and suffering. And the need to courageously look at these things about ourselves that we might not want to look at. We began with the realization that we all have, to one degree or another, a broken heart. And if we begin there by knowing and feeling our own pain, then our pain, our suffering, our brutal self-honesty will benefit not just us on our spiritual journey, but it will benefit others, all of humanity. I forgot that there's one more important aspect of February, and it is the month when we Unity metaphysicians choose to increase our awareness of our spiritual power or faculty or light of strength. And this month, I truly felt the need to awaken and use my spiritual power of strength. How about you? This week, maybe even, it might have even been last week, we reached and surpassed 500,000 deaths from COVID-19. This is 250,000 Americans who have died from this virus. It's not even counting worldwide. Just here in the United States. 250,000 of our fellow countrymen, fellow Americans have died of this virus. I can barely take it in. In the same newspaper article where I read the current number of deaths, I also read an article that there is a black neighborhood in Alabama that has yet to get a single vaccine shipment. But in a nearby wealthy white suburb, the vaccine doses are flowing. The proportion of Alabama's white population getting the vaccine is almost twice that of all black people in Alabama. And that's according to state data. And it's not because of the oft-repeated claim that African Americans don't want it, and it's not an isolated incident. And yet there are people who push back against the phrase, Black Lives Matter. Now, if this phrase was visible, if it really did matter in our country today, we would not see these disparities. The vaccine would be evenly distributed. And that's just one example. And so we have another opportunity to welcome the unwelcomed. Lord, give me strength.
My favorite thing.
Have you ever said that? Have you ever heard of someone saying that? And as Unity metaphysicians, we translate that phrase to spiritual law gives me strength. Yes, we have all the strength we could ever want, need, or use, if only we would awaken our hearts and minds to our inherent spiritual powers. These powers or faculties are always present and unlimited because they come directly from the one source of all, and we are always one with that source. So let's find out just a little bit more about the spiritual power of strength. In Unity's dictionary titled The Revealing Word, Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore wrote that strength is the energy of God. It is freedom from weakness. It is stability of character, the power to withstand temptation, the capacity to accomplish. Reverend Linda Martella Whitsett, in her book Divine Audacity, tells us that spiritual strength is our capacity to stand undaunted in the midst of shifting circumstances, to act courageously, and to stay the course. That certainly has been this past year. She refers to three aspects of strength, and one is stability. She writes, the stabilizing power of strength is our capacity to anchor ourselves securely in the truth of our unlimited source of calm, safety, and balance. The marks of the stabilizing power of strength are centered, calm, balanced, stable, rooted, anchored, secure, safe, sturdy yet flexible, and strong in character. Another aspect of strength is courage. Decrying racism, speaking truth to power, demanding justice, all can be rooted in bold, inspired, courageous action, stemming from spiritual strength. The third aspect of strength that Reverend Linda writes about is tenacity. Tenacity is about perseverance, the ability to keep on keeping on, to follow through, persistence. She writes, persisting non-anxiously is the activity of tenacity. These three, stability, courage, and tenacity, make up the habits of spiritual strength, which begin within each one of us when we choose to be aware of our ever constant connection to the source of all, and then choose to call on, to quicken, to use our spiritual power of strength. In my first Sunday talk in February, I mentioned the late Congressman John Lewis. I had read an interview where he recalled reading of the murder of a 14-year-old boy called Emmett Till. He remembers thinking how that could have been him, as they were so similar in age. Now, if you don't know the story of this murdered boy, please read about him. And right now, actually, there's an incredible documentary on PBS about him. Briefly, Emmett, in August of 1955, was a 14-year-old African-American child when, in the dead of night, was dragged out of his relative's house in Mississippi by a mob of white terrorists, who then proceeded to torture and kill him because he was accused of offending a white woman in her family's grocery store. His killers were acquitted. And years later, the accusers recanted, and the killers bragged about their deeds. And John Lewis and many, many other African Americans thought, that could have been me. We welcome the unwelcomed, and we stand firm in our spiritual power and light of strength. Unfortunately, Emmett Till was not the first nor the last African American or American of color to be unjustly accused or senselessly killed. I thought of mentioning all the names, but even if I listed the names in the last 4 or 5 years, well, you know, it would have been long. I thought of listing all the black churches that have been destroyed by white American terrorists. And, well, you know, the list is long. And then I thought about this book, Welcoming the Unwelcomed. I decided to slightly change my perspective. Yes, it's true that black Americans have been oppressed, greatly harmed, and even killed, and yet that is not the full truth. They are also strong overcomers. They have a rich history of overcoming, of standing in their spiritual light of strength, expressing stability, courage, and tenacity. So today I want to share with you some amazing black American women who reached deep within and used and lived their spiritual light of strength. If you don't know these women, write down their names. Look them up and become aware of our history. These women are historical figures in our country's history. And as an American, I am proud to know of them. Our first is Claudette Colvin. 9 months before Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat to a white passenger on a bus in Montgomery, Alabama, a then 15-year-old Claudette Colvin did the same. On March 2nd, 1955, Colvin was taking the bus home from high school when the driver ordered her to give up her seat. Colvin refused, saying she paid her fare and it was her constitutional right, but was then arrested by 2 police officers. Colvin later became the main witness in the federal lawsuit Browder versus Gale, which ended segregation on public transportation in Alabama.
Wow.
Spiritual strength. Irene Morgan Kirkaldi. Well, before Claudette Colvin and before Rosa Parks, there was Irene Morgan Kirkaldi. In July 1944, Morgan Kirkaldi was arrested after she refused to give up her bus seat to a white passenger in Virginia. She was convicted in a county circuit court, but appealed all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. With the help of lawyers from the NAACP, including Thurgood Marshall, the Supreme Court ruled in her favor.
Yahoo!
While Southern states largely ignored the ruling, the case was a pioneer in civil rights law. Morgan Kirkaldi received the Presidential Citizens Medal from President Bill Clinton in 2001.
Wow.
Spiritual strength. Dr. Rebecca Lee Crumpler. Dr. Crumpler was the first African-American woman physician in the United States. Born in 1831, Dr. Crumpler first worked as a nurse and later was accepted to New England Female Medical College and earned an MD in 1864.
Wow.
In 1883, Dr. Crumpler published a renowned book, the Book of Medical Discourses, in 2 parts, which many believe is the first medical text written by an African-American author. Spiritual strength. Jane Bolin. Before Justice Sonia Sotomayor, Jane Bolin became the nation's first Black woman judge in 1939. She was the first Black woman to graduate from Yale Law School and would serve in New York's family court for 4 decades. During her career, she also worked with Eleanor Roosevelt to create a program that would intervene before young boys committed crimes. Spiritual strength.
Absolutely.
Allison Dunigan. Alice Dunigan was the first African-American female White House correspondent. She was also the first Black female member of the Senate and House of Representatives press galleries. She became the chief of the Associated Negro Press in 1947, which allowed her, a year later, to become the first female African-American to follow a president's campaign out on the road. It was Harry S. Truman. President John F. Kennedy appointed her to serve as an education consultant of the President's Committee on Equal Employment Opportunity until 1965. Spiritual strength. Marsha P. Johnson. Wow. Marsha Johnson was an LGBTQ activist and trans woman who was one of the first drag queens to walk into the Stonewall Inn. In addition to being a drag performer, Johnson co-founded the organization Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries. The organization housed and fed homeless youth that identified as queer in the lower part of New York City. Johnson also modeled for Andy Warhol, performed with the drag group Hot Peaches, and was an AIDS activist with ACT UP for many years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Spiritual strength.
Nice.
And we'll end with Shirley Chisholm.
Shirley Chisholm, my girl.
Before our Vice President, Kamala Harris, there was Shirley Chisholm, a pioneer for African American women holding major roles in government. Chisholm was first served as an educational consultant for New York City's Bureau of Child Welfare, and then ran for New York State Assembly in 1964. And in 1968, Chisholm was elected as the first African American Congresswoman, and later became one of the founding members of the Congressional Black Caucus. Chisholm made history once again in 1972 when she became the first African American woman to run for the Democratic Party's nomination for president. Well, actually, she was the first African American to ever run for any major party's nomination for president. She's one of my heroes, and definitely spiritual strength.
Yeah, I remember Shirley.
Now, there are many more. Here are 7 African American women heroes and overcomers, all evidencing their unlimited, always present spiritual strength. Now, while we all might not be able to be a Shirley Chisholm or a Rosa Parks, we too can be heroes and overcomers when we go within and draw on our spiritual light of strength. We do not know what the future holds. And if we learned nothing from this past year, we learned that we cannot predict the future. And yet, we can be ready when it comes. For the seeds of the future are being sown in our lives today. Certainly, the future is not yet written, but when it is, what will be your chapter? How will you today prepare for that unwritten future? Will you be a force for good in the world? Or will you add to division and polarization? Today, we can open our hearts and minds to what is ours to do in creating a better and more equitable country and world for everyone. We can open our hearts and minds to welcoming the unwelcomed. Not just the unwelcomed out here, but more importantly, the unwelcomed and often unseen within ourselves. Take each morning to create a daily intention that is rooted within you, deep within, where you truly know you are one with the divine. Call forth your spiritual light of strength and consciously choose to express stability, courage, and tenacity to be that overcomer. Choose to be a shining light of strength, helping to create our better future today, a future that truly benefits everyone. Namaste.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Reverend Christine. Wow. Wow. All right. So it's the time in our service where we get to practice our abundance. We get to express it. And I am going to, and as you know, we can do that a couple different ways. We can express it tangibly by going up to unityhartford.org website, clicking on the donate button, and know that those gifts are given in love and in gratitude and used to keep our church community open. Or you can go ahead and express your abundance intangibly. Makes it sound like less than, but it's actually more than. By holding a phrase or a word or an expression in your heart and using the light of strength to express that into the world. And as we do that, let's go ahead and bless that with our offering blessing. And I'm going to say a line and ask you to repeat it with me, repeat it with Carolyn and Reverend Christine. Divine love flowing as me.
divine love flowing as me,
blesses and multiplies all that I am and have,
blesses and multiplies all that I am and have,
and all that I give and receive,
all that I give and receive.
and so it is. Amen.
And so it is. Amen.
So let's go ahead and stand up and put our hands out. And let's say the Gandhi blessing. And what I'm going to do is say a line and ask you to repeat it. I offer you peace.
I offer you peace.
I offer you love.
I offer you love.
I offer you friendship.
I offer you friendship.
I see your beauty.
I see your beauty.
I hear your needs.
I hear your needs.
Our wisdom flows from the highest source.
Our wisdom flows from the highest source.
And I salute that source in you.
And I salute that source in you.
Now stay standing so that you can go back and forth while here's Carolyn. Reverend Carolyn's going to play the unity piece.
Watch out. All right, deep breath.
And now please join me in our prayer for protection. I'll say a line and ask that you repeat it after me along with Carolyn and Deborah. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God.
The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God.
The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us. I am the power of God.
The power of God protects us. I am the power of God.
The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God.
The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God.
Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Well, thank you to everyone, but special thanks to Deborah Giddings, and also to all our prayer chaplains who are here today holding sacred space, holding all of us in prayer. If you do have a prayer request, please email your request to prayerrequest@unityhartford.org, and the prayer chaplains will pray with you confidentially, and we'll be delighted to do that. I also want to thank our church ambassador today, Angela Simadon, and if anyone would like to chat with me, the minister, please feel free to contact me at revchris@unityhartford.org. I also want to thank our office manager, Tony Bensko, our sound master, Jim Mahoney, and of course, the wonderful Carolyn Fisher. But I need to say one more thing, and this is important, because I gave Carolyn wrong information. The coffee and tea connection that is being held today on Zoom, it begins at 11:30. So when this is over, go grab your cup of coffee and get on your computer, not on Facebook, but on Zoom at 11:30. All right. that being said, Carolyn, what are we singing as our final song?
So this is a song by Holly Meir, and it's called I Am Willing, in which we take our strength out into the world. I am open, and I am willing, but to be hopeless, it seems so strange, and dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up in the light of change. There is hurting in my family. There is sorrow in my town. There is panic all across the nation. There is wailing the whole world around. But I am open, I am willing to be hopeless. What seems so strange, it dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up in the light of change. Bring the children, see more clearly. May the elders be more wise. May the winds of change caress us, even though they burn our eyes. I am open, I am willing to be hopeless. It seems so strange, it dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. Give me a mighty oak to hold my confusion. Give me a desert to hold my fears. Give me a sunset to hold my wonder. Give me an ocean to hold my tears. I am willing to be hopeless. Seems so strange, and dishonors go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. Lift me up to the light of change. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We're glad to see all of you, and don't forget to join us at 11:30 on Zoom for your coffee and tea connection. And we'll see you right back here on Facebook on Wednesday at 7 for our meditation service. Have a great week.